Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ron Wallace here with Ballin' Down South Sports Network, here with another episode of the interview. Now, my next guest is no stranger to basketball. He's from Birmingham, Alabama. He went to Homewood High School, but he graduated from Pelham High School, where he led it for 4 years. He was on first team All-Metro, All-County, All-State basketball. He even went to the University of Mobile, locally here. He's a head coach right now, where he's won 10 straight winning seasons, or 20 more winning seasons, and 11 straight playoff appearances. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce you to McGill-Toolen Catholic head varsity boys basketball coach, Phillip Murphy. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm good, Ron. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Coach. Man, we finally got you on here. We definitely been meaning to get you on here. I'm sorry we didn't get you on here before, but definitely you got a lot to talk about with that program you got there. But before we do that, so you went to two high schools. You're originally from Birmingham, but you've been here in the Mobile area for quite some time now. Is that correct? Talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I went to Pelham High School. I graduated from Pelham, went to Homewood before that. But, the majority of my life's been spent here in Mobile. Got here in '97, signed at the University of Mobile. Played for Scott Sanderson for my first 2 years and played for Joe Nyland my last 2 years, and was blessed to play in the national championship game in 1999. Even though we lost that game, we were up 26 at half and lost it at the buzzer. But, blessed to compete at a high level and for some really good coaches.
Now, before going off to college, I see, you first all team, this, that. You got numerous awards, even now as a head coach. But before going to the University of Mobile, how did you get onto their radar?
It was actually one camp in particular. It was a Colonnade All-Star camp that Joe Dean Jr. started, and they would run it there in Birmingham at Indian Springs School. And it was one day at that camp where I got 3 looks, got noticed, and kind of ran from there. Probably was overranked after that camp. I had some major D1s on me, which I was not a major D1 player, and you see it a lot, but. When it all settled, I had an offer from University of Central Florida, from Spring Hill, and from the University of Mobile, and felt like I could play early at Mobile and have a chance to win a championship there in the NAIA, and so I decided to go there, and it was the right choice for sure.
Now, your first 2 years there under Coach Sanderson, you played the position of guard. Talk about how that went about, and then we'll talk about your last 2 years with Coach Nyland where you played forward, how the position changed. But coming there, they recruited you at guard. Talk about that.
Yeah, they recruited me as a shooting guard, and that's kind of what I was known for in high school. I tried to play that role my first semester at Mobile and didn't get a lot of time, so I had to figure out, how to get the coach's attention, figure out what I needed to do. So, the shot was still there, but I figured maybe I could be the hard knocks guy. Maybe I could get all the loose balls and the rebounds and all that, and maybe I'll get a little more time. And sure enough, after Christmas, I worked myself into the starting lineup and kind of played that role throughout, even though I changed positions, as you talked about with Joe Nyland. I played a little bit more of the small forward position with him for a year before going to the point guard position as a senior.
Now, you played with another classmate of yours, MGM's head coach, Coach Rowe, and also Tudor Boys Sports, who Shadrack Tudor played with. How is it now that you guys are grown, you guys are out of college, you're coaching your own kids now in the sport that you played? How does it, feel to go up against? And I know I'm not sure if you and Rowe have actually played against each other, maybe during the summer or something like that. But talk about how that is, knowing that you have a former college teammate that also coaches.
And it's really cool, when you're on part of a team, especially at any level, you go through a lot with each other. It's just like family, and all those guys we played with in college, we're still all really close. We still call each other and ask for advice, and to compete against each other is just like competing against practice. You want to get out the other guy, and you want to come out on top, but at the end of the day, you love them, and Roe came to me about 3 years ago and wanted to meet and see what we were doing to make ourselves successful. And he plays us 2 years later in the playoffs and he puts us out. So, I'm not so sure that meeting was so good.
Well, I can tell you this. Also, reading up on you, you held a record there at the University of Mobile, all-time winning record of 100 wins. Is that record still stand?
Ron, I can't accurately say that, but I'm going to say yes. The record stands. It probably does. To be honest with you, if you look back at the years, Tremaine Perry and some of those guys might have had a chance. Those guys that were with me as freshmen, but it would be close, I would say.
Now, what got you into coaching? You didn't want to go play overseas or anything. Tell me how you started got into coaching high school basketball.
Well, I'm gonna try to make this short because it's a weird, strange story. I actually I went to school for business, and I planned on taking over a family business. And my junior year of college, my father passed away, and I was thrust into trying to save this business. We had branches in Montgomery, Nashville, Atlanta, Birmingham, and Mobile.
Wow.
I'm trying to go to school, trying to play basketball, and trying to save this business. And long story short is I didn't. We had to sell the business off. It was just too much. And as a result, I ended up going back to Mobile, finishing there. And I was a grad assistant for 2 years for Joe Nolan. And then at Christmas break one year, JV assistant job at UMS opened up. And Coach Nolan asked me about it, and I went over there and talked to him. So I ended up teaching sixth grade science for 4 years over there and being the JV coach. And I ended up back at McGill or at McGill those years later, and kind of look back now and kind of like, wow, what a journey to be here at this point.
Well, you can definitely say you don't put in your time in and worked your way up. Talk a little bit about now. I know you got one of the top prospects in the country on your team. He's a senior this year, but I also want you to talk about some of those younger guys coming up behind him, like your son and a couple other guys there at McGill-Toolen High School.
Yeah, I mean we this core group of seniors. We got 7 seniors that have been playing together since their fourth grade year. YMCA, AAU ball. So we've got lots of pictures. So these guys have a lot of chemistry. My son being one of them, who's in the same class as Barry. He's our second leading scorer, and he's a glue guy for us. He doesn't get talked about a lot, but we really count on him and his intangibles that he brings to the team. But we've got other guys that are right there in that senior class with Gavin Vesey, Cooper Russ, Javon Edwards. A lot of those guys. Braden Turner, another phenomenal athlete, Division I athlete. The list goes on, and then you go beyond them, and you've got Bennett Russ that's in the class behind Devin McCain. You've got a lot of guys that are going to give us a lot down the road, and we're excited about that for sure.
Now, Coach, you guys went from 7A to 6A, so I know there should a lot of coaches would figure, hey, that's going to be a tough change because you're going to have to play more teams in the 6A bracket. How was the transition going from 7A to 6A?
The transition was great. I hate that it happened in a COVID year. It was a really tough year for us. A lot of going on, like everybody's dealt with. But I liked it. It was a great shakeup. Playing different teams. Unfortunately, too, not only on top of COVID, but you end up with one of the better teams in the state this year in Spanish Fort that lined up with us in the sub-state, and they thumped us pretty good there in the playoffs. So we're fighting to get back to that point and hopefully get that rematch. Hopefully that'll be a rematch to go to the Final Four. That's our hope and our goal.
Now, Coach, a kid wants to come out and play for your program. What do you expect out of your kids, and what is your coaching philosophy?
Defend and play hard. If we do those two things, we'll be successful. Last year we didn't defend and we didn't always play hard, and it showed. The record showed, the outcomes of games, tight games, it showed. And we left our guys today. We go to Auburn in the morning to play, and we talked about some things offensively at the end of practice we need to clean up. And actually, my assistant did, and I piped in. I said, "Look, as long as you defend and we play hard, we're always going to have a chance to win."
Now, is there how many guys do you have coming back from last season? And it appears like you have quite a few guys coming back. So they pretty much have a nucleus and they pretty much gel together already.
Yeah, so returning to the varsity, you've got 9 returning, and then you've got 7 of those guys that played heavy minutes. A lot of them since their sophomore year, kind of getting ready for this. So we do have a nucleus. We lost some guys that we're going to miss, but we feel really good about the group we have, and there's just not a lot of holes when you put guys out there for us right now. You know, everybody we put on the floor is a threat, capable of doing something, and the other part is they all play hard and they all defend.
So what I saw you guys the other day over at South Alabama, and you guys look pretty good. So we're definitely expecting you guys to go deep into the playoffs this upcoming season. That's what me and KT Thornton with Icon Sports talked about. Looking at some of you guys, but looking at some of you guys, you have a lot of athletic guys that we saw on the court outside of Barry. We're definitely looking for your son to shoot some stuff from behind that arc. He shot a couple times last season behind the arc. I think he's going to have a little bit more confidence this year, his senior year going out. But coach, if you could talk to a kid that's about to get ready to go into their junior or senior year, and then they're not around you guys, you know, it's summertime, whatnot, and they're not back at school playing. What would you tell those kids? What would you think they need to work on? Definitely, if you wanted to coach them.
Man, if you want to play at the highest level, and I'm not talking about highest level of college, I'm talking about highest level where you're at. If you want to be there, you got to work every day. There's no Xbox days all day laying around. I mean, you got to put in the work. I mean, you got to get out. You got to shoot the ball. You've got to condition. You got to be in that weight room now. That weight room is a dividing factor for all these guys now, and it's amazing. I look back and wish we had the knowledge that these guys have now with nutrition and lifting. But, you know, those nutrition and lifting are probably the biggest 2 things in the off season outside of putting in the extra work on the floor. But just getting your body right and treating your body right and living the right way is probably what I would tell all the guys.
Now, what's your stance on academics? I ask a lot of coaches this all the time because that's one of my pet peeves. Kids saying, hey, I want to be interviewed, but my first thing, you don't get the grades, you can't play on the court. I'm like, I can't put you out there, and college coaches are not going to waste their time with you. What is your take on academics?
Well, I mean, I tell kids all the time, I mean, the lower your GPA and the lower your test scores, the fewer opportunities you have. That's just flat out. And I tell kids all the time, I'm not going to name the kid that was being recruited, but I was talking to an assistant from Davidson College, and they were recruiting a kid, and they asked me his ACT score, and I was pretty impressed with our kid's ACT score. It was a 25. And I tell him a 25, and he quickly cut me off and said, no, we don't really take anybody under a 29, coach. I said, wow. Now, that's an extreme circumstance, obviously. But the point is the lower that GPA is, the lower the test scores are, the less opportunity you're going to have or they're going to have to play. So, you know, at a school like ours, I tell people all the time, you know, they talk about our success or whatever. Our success starts in the hallways, in the classrooms, from our leadership and our administration. Those kids are expected to compete at everything they do in the classroom, on the floor, on the field, and they're held to a high expectation. So, you know, a lot of the success we see on the floor is due to what's happening in the classrooms and in the hallways.
Now, I'm going to ask you this. You probably going to get this question probably if AL.com have a media day this upcoming season. What do you think about implementing a shot clock? Because I'm asking a lot of coaches this.
I like the idea. I'm for it. I think we're a long way from it. The reason I think we're a long way from it is one, and this is not a knock on anybody. I mean, we have our own problems at school. We have a hard time with the game clock as it is. Now we're going to add a second clock. That's an issue. But for a lot of our smaller schools, that you know, revenue is more difficult. I just can't imagine them being able to afford somebody to run it and to get the stuff installed. So I think there's a path to it, and I hope there's a path to it. I just think we're a long way from it right now.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about Mr. Barry Dunning. How does it feel to have a player of his caliber on your program? And I know you wish you had a whole bunch of him, but you know, some of your other guys can step up to the plate and next man up. But how does it make you feel to have somebody with his caliber?
Well, the first thing about a kid like Barry is just his off the floor. He's pleasant to be around. He never causes any problems. He always does what he's asked. He's a leader in the hallways at school. He's a hero in the hallways at school. He's a great young man. To have a player of his caliber, obviously, to have great players on the floor, guys that can do stuff that he can do, it's a huge benefit. It's a huge plus. He is one too that he's a late bloomer in terms of his ability. He's gotten better every year with us. He's added another little level, another layer, and now this summer we're seeing a whole nother layer that he's added to his game, which is physicality. He's throwing that body around. He's worked hard in the weight room and put the weight on. It's showing. So, he's the tip of the iceberg right now. He's got a long way to go and to get better. His ceiling's really high, but hey, we got him one more year, and we're going to enjoy it, and the team's going to enjoy it.
So now, last question. What's the agenda for this upcoming season? I know you don't want to jump way off to the championships, get into the championship game, but immediate things that you want to do with your program and your guys.
Well, I answer this question the same every time, and it's because our formula hasn't changed. We break our season up into 3 seasons. 10 games preseason before football ends. Then our middle season where we put everybody back together. And then the end result is in January. We want to do the best we can with those area games. Those are the only ones that matter. And then we want to win that first game of the area tournament and just see where it takes us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. McGill-Toolen head varsity basketball coach, Coach Phillip Murphy. Thanks for coming on Network Day, Coach.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Don't get much better than this. Don't get much better than this.